Hey you! Still haven't made something for Dad? Consider making these for Father's Day this year.
In this video, I'm going to show you 5 woodworking projects that you can make for Dad this Father's Day. Let's go. Item 1, we have the bottle opener. This is something that you can get off Amazon. I'll have a link to this item in the description down below. You can get a 5-pack, 10-pack, I think even a more pack. And then the magnets as well. These are very strong magnets and it's great for catching any sort of metal. I have a little Allen wrench here for instance. And I'm going to show you, you open the bottle and it falls down, it catches it. Great little gift, takes no time at all. You could attach it to any piece of wood. You don't even have to have the holes back here to mount it, but that's how I like to do it.
Making the wall bottle opener is a very easy task. You take a piece of wood, you take your flat straight router bit, and you router out the magnet hole. The magnet hole is on the back near the bottom of the board, and all you have to do is trace the magnets, take the bit, go little by little, and go roughly a little bit more than half through the piece. Once you do that, you make sure your magnets fit, make sure your magnets are attached from the other side, and that it attracts metal. I then took some sandpaper, I scuffed up the magnets and applied some super glue to the hole to make sure I got a good bond with those magnets in the hole. I added my chamfer to my board, I did all my final sanding, and all I had to do was make sure that the holes were pre-drilled and this board is ready for finish. I had some Odie's oil available to me in the shop from previous projects, so that's what I used to finish all these pieces. And I let it go on, I buff it on by hand, and then I buff it off. Very simple, and it's very rewarding.
Item number 2 is this Dad Milwaukee sign. My father is extremely handy. He likes his red tools, his Milwaukee tools. So I chose to find the font online, generate the word Dad, and cut it out. I had the luxury of using my CNC, but you could totally do this by hand with a jigsaw or any tool like that. If you have a scroll saw, this would be easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
I'm fortunate enough to own and operate my own little personal CNC in my garage workshop, but all I had to do for this one is design the CAD software or the Carbide Create software, push it through Carbide Motion, get it on the CNC, cut out the material with the Sawzall, and that's really it. I made sure I looked at it and made sure I didn't have any blemishes. I lined it up. Everything came out according to plan. So I took it, sanded it down, applied paint, and my sign was done. All I had to do to attach it was take some pin nails. I think they were 1.25 inches, just enough to go through the material. I used 1/2 inch material, and that was it. I had a name sign.
Third item is this Dad engraved push stick. I really wanted to make it a little personalized with a little epoxy in there. But this push stick is for the table saw. Like I said, he is handy. This was cut on the CNC, but I did cut it out with the bandsaw to speed up the process. But simple as that, you hook it onto the wood and you push it through the table saw. Great project, easy to do with a little piece of scrap wood if you have it. You can easily also take a hole saw bit, drill these out, and then follow it with a jigsaw.
This is another project that should take no time at all. You grab a piece of scrap wood, build your design, you cut it out, and really you just make sure everything looks good. I had to make sure that the hand hole actually fit the hand well, because this again was a design that I made on the Carbide Create software. So I made the design, I cut it out, made sure it was sanded down, and made sure it was all smooth. I applied a chamfer, just a simple round over chamfer, so it actually fit snug in the hand and it didn't feel uncomfortable. But I cut out the handle with the Sawzall because I had tabs on there, and I added that little touch of epoxy in the Dad category, just so it popped out and, you know, it felt good and looked good. But a very simple project, don't need a CNC. Do it by hand, and I'm sure your father or anyone who gets this gift would appreciate it.
Another gift, you could do a key holder, item holder on top. So in theory, you would mount this to the wall, and then you can put your wallet and stuff or anything like that on top. You can put mail, you can put personal objects, you can do whatever you want. This one also does have keyhole bits drilled in as well, but if you didn't have that, you could just drill it into the wall. Very simple, took no time at all. I applied a stain, the hooks, the hardware, everything will be online in the description below of what I used, found on Amazon.
The key rack hooks actually consisted of simple pine, and that wood I cut down to 10 inches long, and roughly it was a 4.5 inch piece board that I actually decided to trim down even more to make it simpler. And I actually played this all by eye, and I didn't really have a plan. I just wanted to make a key hook. So I took it, I trimmed it down, I made the outside piece a little shorter, and I decided to inset that piece into the other piece for extra strength and rigidity. So since I don't have a dado, I just used a single blade table saw. I ran it multiple times at the same depth, and I actually used a Temu tool. If you haven't seen that, I bought that in a previous video, and it was basically a woodpecker's knockoff. If you want to see that, I'll have it in the description below, but nonetheless, that helped me set my gauge to a little bit more than halfway through this 1/4 inch board, 3/4 inch board, excuse me. And then I just used a chisel here to clean up that edge, since I don't have a flat tipped tooth blade. And I got a snug fit, everything was good. I drilled holes for the screws, just somewhere for the board to go. Again, just that extra rigidity. You never know what you're going to end up putting on top of this. After I drill the 3 holes through the baseboard, I continue to drill through the hanging board. And then I pre-drilled the holes for the hooks. I added about 6 hooks evenly spaced. I sanded it all down so it could get ready for stain from my normal sanding pattern of 60, 120, 220. Not really anything more because it's probably going to get scuffed up as it gets used. And then I applied a stain. I had a aged barrel stain that I used on a previous project, and I just gently applied to the whole surface minus the rear, and I let it sit for a couple minutes, and then I removed it. And I used a simple rag. I didn't have any intentions of making this look crazy good. It should have looked fine with the pine and the simple stain rag that I was using. Once the stain dried and I cleared it off, I applied my 6 hooks. I made sure they were all in line, made sure they were all evenly spaced, and basically level with each other so it looked appealing to the eyes. After the holes were there, I had the intentions of adding a top rack bar, and instead of just adding a piece of wood, I wanted to use a piece of hardware that I had laying around. So I inset or drilled the holes for the handlebar, and then I drilled holes to make it flush so you wouldn't see these little screws poking through. And that was really it. I glued the boards together, attached it with screws, and we had a complete keyhole rack.
And then the coolest project here is this mallet. This is more of a showpiece, but I do know he's probably going to use it as well because it has this little nook that I designed here, and it's perfect for fitting your phone. I don't have my phone right this second as it is recording, but the phone fits here perfectly, and then it leans up against this. So I know when he's on the job site, he's going to have the phone here. He can watch his YouTube video or whatever he wants to do right there, and then he can also use this to hit things. It has a nice little bit on top. I do have this file on a CNC. If you are interested, let me know down in the comments and I might send it to you for free. I did design this by myself and it turned out pretty good. There might be some need for tweaks and stuff like that, and that's why I'm willing to give it to you for free if you hit the like button and subscribe down below. So just like this little hammer here, click that like button.
The The wooden mallet was another item for Father's Day that I was able to CNC. I designed it fully or entirely on Carbide Create, and it was kind of a on the whim by chance effort. I've always wanted to make one. I've always wanted to learn how to do the CAD software and make one through the CNC since I have it readily available. But simply enough, I cut the pieces. I designed it to have that groove for a phone to fit perfectly on it. I designed the inside handle to have a little bit more play. So I attached the two center blocks with brad nails. I really wanted to use pin nails just to hold them in place and have the glue really hold it there, but I was all out of pin nails for the width of the boards. The handle, I had to apply the chamfer ahead of time because I was fearful I wasn't going to be able to do it once the handle was actually in the piece. And all I did was hammer it in with a rubber mallet, make sure it got all the way through. I applied some glue prior to finishing, and then I added the top piece. And I actually took 2 extra pieces of maple here because I wanted to have that little detailed edge. Cut off the top to a smooth finish, applied my chamfer to the handle and the top piece, sanded it all down to 320 grit, and applied my Odie's oil finish. And this piece turned out brilliant. Definitely a top favorite for Father's Day.
And that was 5 woodworking projects that I made for Father's Day this year.